said I'd never join.
Thought living on sub would be too hard.
I figured only the weatherman tracks storms.
I said my job wouldn't matter.
Never knew how strong I was. I never thought this would be my commute.
I figured I'd never get out of my hometown.
Or be the one who stops an attack. Joining the Navy sounds crazy. Saying never actually is.
Oh, hi everyone, and welcome into Behind the Helm. If you want to watch this show live, tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll respond live. As always, find it, like it, share it, follow it. But if you want to watch the show after the fact, head on over to YouTube or on Facebook, where the shows are cataloged, and you can see all the comments and notes and still watch the show and any bonus content. If you just want to listen to the show, head on over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, wherever you can find a podcast, and just search up Behind the Helm. Enjoy the show. Episode 84. That's right, we're on the 84th episode here today, another Thursday, an hour later than normal, starting at 1700 for those military folks. We're 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Normally it's 4 every week. That's okay. We had an opportunity to have a very special guest, and I wanted to make sure that we could. If you've been watching over the last few days, I've been posting some pictures, some stories, some different things, and I'm telling you, it's going to be a good one. We're here in March. It's Women's Appreciation Month. Yesterday was Women's Appreciation National Women's Appreciation Day, and I just think that we have a very successful woman in the military that's going to teach us a few things and has an amazing story. So if you're watching right now, no matter what you're watching on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, you're watching live, make sure to smash that like button. Share this feed. You never know who you might help. And I will tell you, if this is your first time here, man, you joined at a good time. But if this is your 84th time watching the show, watching Behind the Helm, hey, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for coming back. We're over that 900 followers. I've made a comment about Season 2 coming soon, probably once we get to about episode 100. I haven't said what that is yet, so that's another little thing. But we need to get to 1,000 followers, at least on Facebook, before then. Facebook was our first. That's why we have the most followers there. But we need followers and subscribers in other places. So hit the bells, hit the like buttons, share the feed, do everything you can. And make sure you go over to those audio platforms too, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Google Podcasts, because you can listen to it too. And I'm completely caught up. And even this one will be up tomorrow. By tomorrow morning, it'll be up there ready to listen to. So if you've been watching, talking about naval fighter pilot, and before we bring in our guest, you know, the Navy has these videos that we look at for different rates when we've talked about different jobs. Well, they also have one for naval fighter pilots. So, I mean, how could we say that we're the #1 military podcast in the Midwest if we're not going to show you a video about it before we talk about it? So we're going to do that. Before we bring in our guest, I'm going to go ahead and show this video. This is from the Navy. This is what the Navy kind of put out, just like the other jobs, for a Navy fighter pilot. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll be talking to our special guest. So here we go. Naval fighter pilot.
It's not really a job for me. This is just fun. Every day I go to work.
With the Navy, you get to fly off an aircraft carrier, which is the coolest thing in the world.
thing about the F-18 that separates it is its ability to do pretty much everything. It can take off, drop bombs, and fight its way through the sky. You go to take off and you plug in afterburner and you kind of get blown back in your seat. You're like, okay, this is for real. At times, you'll be pulling upwards to 7 Gs for short periods of time.
Now I get to do it at night, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Flying in close proximity to other planes at night, and then obviously going out and landing on the aircraft carrier at night for the first time are the probably biggest challenges people face. So when you're looking down on it from 20,000 feet in the air, it looks pretty tiny. It's a lot of kind of talking to yourself in the jet, in the downwind, just trying to calm yourself down. 15 to 18 seconds of a lot of focus. You're stopping on the ship.
This is the F-35C. It's the Navy's variant of the Joint Strike Fighter. Single engine fighter, 5th gen aircraft. Brings all the stealth technology to the fight. It's a kick-ass airplane. Its purpose is to go into an environment that is harder to access for enemy threats. It's got touchscreens in the jet. Everything's projected in front of your face. Single engine. We have to train at contingencies that if that engine were to quit, we basically have to be able to dead stick the aircraft into a landing field. There's probably only about 30 pilots in the Navy right now that actually fly the F-35C. It's a great opportunity to get in on the ground floor.
You start out in primary, so you go through flight school. Flight school takes about 2 years. You fly first trainer jet.
After I got my wings there, I went to BFA 106 to learn how to fly the Super Hornet. And then after that, I began to learn how to fly the F-35C.
A lot of people are maybe deterred from the idea that it's a path that is unachievable, but it's more achievable than you think.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Let me pull myself back up here. Hey, see some people liking. I see Muffin out there. Old Dave Hammonds, thank you, sir. And some other people as well. My wife, my mom, myself. I shared it. That's nice of me. So with that being said, you know, that's what it's a Navy aviator, naval pilot. We'll bring in our guest. She'll be able to clear it up for us a little bit and tell us her story. And I'm really excited for everybody to get to meet her. So let's go ahead and bring in Commander Kristen Dragon Hansen. Ma'am, I know you can hear me. Give me just a second here. I got to get you pulled up video so it's not just me, because that would be weird. All right, there you are. Can you hear me okay, ma'am?
Yes, I can. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. Ma'am, I'm just so happy that you were able to be here. Like, we got, big brain stuff, right? Got it together. We were able to do it. And, big shout out to Mr. Singh, or what's his call sign? Shawarma. Since we're talking call signs, we had to bring it up. Big shout out to him, my ex-CO, previous CO here at the command, big podcast listener, reached out to him and got us together, and I was super happy about it. And you have a pretty close relationship with him. He's one of your best friends, right?
He is. We were 2003 graduates of the Naval Academy together, and our careers have paralleled each other all the way through. So he is like family.
I would say even more so than family, because he told me something really special about you and his family, that you're even his daughter's godmother, right?
I am.
That's
Emily.
so cool.
Super cute.
Yeah. So you see, like, relationships within the Navy, like these friendships that we build, and and that's somebody that you probably would have never even have met otherwise, and I tell people that all the time. You will meet your best friend and sometimes your worst enemy. You have that Maverick Iceman relationship. Sorry, I can't help it. There's going to be so many aviation references and Top Gun references today, and I apologize. I mean, I'm working on my goose and rooster mustache. I don't know if you noticed that. I do feel like, all right, hold on. These were one of our homages to the eagle from somebody, so I feel like I have to wear these. Like, I have to now. Which, speaking of homage to the eagle, ma'am, I don't know if you could see it, but I have my eagle right here. I knew I forgot something, and I'm going to give a little homage to him today. Don't have anything overly special, but this is important to me. It's a sign. Hopefully everybody will be able to read it. They may or may not, because I know my screen's a little small, but what it says is, you're not stupid. You're just not lucky when it comes to thinking. And during my Chiefs season, I bought this sign and set it on my desk to remind myself that I'm not dumb. I'm just not being very lucky in thinking, and I was missing things, real simple things. So, that really helped me get through, just looking up and seeing that and kind of laughing. So you're naval, is it Navy aviator, Navy pilot, naval aviator? What do you call yourself?
So I personally would say naval pilot. I do count as a naval aviator. So aviator would be the broader term. So as a pilot, I'm in the front seat with the controls. However, in our aircraft, we also have people that are either weapon systems officers, or EWOs, electronic warfare officers. And then we also have weapon systems officers in our control aircraft, and those guys kind of run the fight as well as controllers. So they are not necessarily pilots, but they're an integral portion of how we do our mission and run things in the aircraft. So we count as aviator, the whole gamut across the board.
Right. So naval aviator is actually kind of a broad term.
Correct.
But Navy pilot is more specific. But I would say you're even a little bit more specific than that, because you're a Navy fighter pilot, right? Because a Navy pilot could be somebody who, flies a Greyhound, flies, right? Any aircraft. Naval fighter pilot is a little bit more specific. What'd you think of that? I know you've seen that video before. I totally forgot they showed the F-35. Whew. You ever seen one of those up close?
Yep. We share a base. So they're very, very shiny and new. And we've got our second operational squadrons up and running now. So those guys are definitely becoming more and more of the fight every day.
Right. And it's cool. I was looking at stuff because we were talking about, me and you were kind of talking about Top Gun and all this stuff. And in the new movie, they talk about, at the end there, they're talking about the Gen 5 fighters. And so, that's not a made-up thing. It's a real thing, because they even said it in that video. The F-35 it's a Gen 5 fighter. It's a general term, but it is a thing. It's a generation of aircraft that it is. So when I bring somebody on, and again, you're here on Behind the Helm, episode 84, we're setting with Commander Kristen Dragon Hansen. So if you've ever watch Top Gun or anything, or know anything about naval aviation, the pilots have their call signs. So Dragon would be the commander's call sign. It's not, she didn't earn that nickname because she bit some guy's head off or something. Like, that's just that's her call sign. It's not actually her middle name. Now, Hansen, are you familiar with the Hansen brothers?
Oh, unfortunately, it was a very bad time to be in high school times when MMMBop came out. So there was a lot of MMMBop.
I knew it was going to come up. I wondered if you would fall into it. Yeah, absolutely. I wondered if you would see that one coming. MMMBop. Hey,
I was hoping you were too young for that.
No way. I remember that too. Absolutely. My birthday is this coming Sunday, so I expect that you will get me the same thing this year as you did last year, ma'am. I appreciate that. And for anybody out there, it was nothing, because I didn't know her until today. So, but yeah, absolutely, I'm turning 37. So I've been around the block. I remember Hansen, and I'll tell you what, MMMBop was the hotness when it came out. Let's be honest, okay? It was the hotness. Hey, Cooper is out there, one of my previous future sailors, saying afternoon, Chief, and Cooper, glad you're here. I tell you what, ma'am, this kid. Little overweight when he came to join, and I see him post pictures every day. He's getting ripped. Like, this guy is living it up. Really proud of you, Cooper. Keep it up, man. So anyway, I told you, and just so everybody knows, me being enlisted, you being an officer, you will hear me call her ma'am the entire time, just so everybody's aware. Yes, I'm a respectful person, but that comes into the military thing we talk about. So we're here on episode 84 of Behind the Helm. Make sure you smash the like button, share this feed, because this is going to get real cool. So the first thing I always ask, ma'am, is when people come in and they've been in, is why? Why did you join the Navy? Because it's always different, and everybody's got their interesting story. What made you say, you know what? That's what I'm going to do?
So from as long as I can remember when I was little, all I wanted to do was be an astronaut. And I'm sure my parents did what every parent does and say they were super supportive, but they were like, yeah, sure, go for it.
Be an astronaut.
I think I took it a little farther than they originally thought I would. But I was very binary and doing everything I needed to do to put myself in a position to apply. So at the time, I was like, well, you have to be a pilot. So that must mean Air Force. And then when I got a little older, I was going through an astronaut fact book and discovered that the Naval Academy has more astronaut graduates than anyone else. And I was
Navy.
very much, you bet, beat Army. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go there. So we did a visit and I fell in love with it instantly. Loved the idea of the military, the idea of being able to fly in a jet, hopefully maybe someday at that point, or just hoping to fly anything and see where it took me. So I was lucky enough to get into the academy and service select aviation out of the academy. And along the way, I discovered that going that astronaut route was not necessarily for me. There's a couple, usually you go through test pilot school. You have to be way smarter than I am. I have some friends that went to the academy with me and got really close to being astronauts, and they're the ones that got me through the academy. I had to they had to help me do my homework. But it was a great journey. And I like to say that that dream and that goal got me to where I believe I needed to be or belonged, and that's been in our community. So I chose to go a different route from that. NASA was definitely like, yeah, nice try, try again later. But that was okay. That's not necessarily the path that I should have ended up on. But it definitely got me to a great place. So it's been a great journey.
It's amazing. So yeah, so you went to the Naval Academy, and you don't have to go to the Naval Academy to be an officer. I just spoke with a young lady today who might start working. She's going to take the test and try to become a naval officer, and she can still go aviation too. But that tends to be what we hear about, and that's like when you hear about and we talked about this the other day. A couple weeks ago, we had a young lady on CTI 1 who was she was on the first all-female, all-Navy rugby team. Really cool story. And I kind of forgot where I was going. No, anyway, you can go anywhere. Yes, sorry. But when we talk about like the sports and stuff, people know the go Army beat Navy, go Navy beat Army. We know that, the Army-Navy game. Now that's the colleges. That is Annapolis and West Point, and that is the Naval Academy is where you went, right? So that is in Annapolis. You went there. So did you go? Was that like right after high school? Did you get a scholar? How does it work to get into the Naval Academy? Because I don't think people understand. It's not when you're going there, that's not normal college. You're not going to Purdue, although they do have a Navy ROTC, just so everybody is aware. But it's a little different. So how did that work? How does that look?
Yeah, so I mean, we always have a joke of, hey, it's not college. It is, but obviously you have the military component to it, which makes it very unique. And getting in is unique as well. So, if that's something you're interested in, I would definitely put in your homework so that you're not showing up on day one thinking that it's going to be a normal college experience. You definitely have to know what you're getting into and want to be there and be doing it for a reason, because it obviously gets a little tough from time to time. But there's 3 different things that you essentially need to make sure that you have as you apply. I guess maybe 4. So the first one's your general application to the school. So
just like any school?
What is similar, exactly. So like any school, they're looking for grades. They're looking for, leadership. Were you on sports? What curricular activities did you do? Kind of the whole package of what kind of student were you in high school? And then after that, you have to be medically qualified. So you have to they'll tell you to go to a base somewhere and make sure that you could get into the Navy and be able to do the jobs and have the health requirements that they will want you to have. You also have to get what's called a nomination from your either senator or congressman with the state that you're living. So you go through a separate application process for that as well. And then they'll check you off for, okay, cool. You have your nomination. And once you get all of those pieces to the puzzle, you get your thumbs up that they are going to accept you, and you let them know if you're going to show up or not. And what's neat about the academy, I'm not sure what the other service academies do. We have something called Summer Seminar, which is an opportunity that, hey, if you're applying to school, you can go down there for a week and get an idea behind the scenes more so than the normal tour of what is life going to be like. And I think that's important so people can see like, oh, okay, this is really what I'm getting into for the next couple of years. And I think they allow you, at least when I applied, you could apply earlier if you went through that program. So
that's
there's
like,
a lot more.
Instead of just like a college visit that like a high school student do, it's like that, but because there's more aspects to it, like being a midshipman, there's a lot more that goes into it than just going to class. You get that week to actually kind of see like, oh, okay, all right, like, yeah, there's more going on here. Is this really what I want to do? That's good.
100%. And I went through I played soccer, Go Navy women's soccer. So we had you get a weekend. I think they do it for non-sports too. But you could spend a couple of days at school. So you just shadow a mid the whole time. So you could say, hey, I'm going to go to soccer practice. Then I'm going to see that you're doing homework all night. You're going to go to all the formations. So there are ways to kind of look behind the scenes, but I was a direct entry. I went straight from high school to the academy. Okay. There are people that went to school for a year, transferred out and went to the academy. You have to do all 4 years. So if you did a college year somewhere else, you don't graduate a year or nope, exactly. Yep. So I had a friend that had done 2 years at Rutgers, and she started off as a freshman or what we call a plebe. Yep. And she did all 4 years after that. I have other friends that either academically didn't get in on the first try, or maybe were previously enlisted and hadn't been in school for a little while. Right. There's preparatory academies or different options that the Navy will help you get you up to academic speed. Because it would take me forever to learn the math that I needed back then, just because you haven't looked at it. Yeah. So there's programs that will get you to where you need to be academically, and you do that for a year and then start in as a freshman. Yeah, that makes it. Now, for those who have seen, like, obviously, like, the people who go to the academy, they're in uniform. They're called midshipmen. That's like, I don't want to say the mascot, but Naval Academy midshipmen. That's actually what they're called. Like you said, students can go shadow them. When I was on the ship, I was on the Cole, which is a destroyer. We had different underways where midshipmen would come, and they actually would shadow just regular sailors. They would come with us. But each year, it's like, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. But there's also like kind of a rank structure still, even at the school, right? Yeah, absolutely. So your freshman year, it is a long year. So you show up on day one as a plebe. You spend all summer. Plebe low. Yep. You're essentially going through boot camp. So there's obviously a difference of what goes on in Great Lakes and what goes on in Annapolis, but you spend the whole summer running around, living a very structured life, getting yelled at, learning how to work as a team, really kind of that break you down and build you back up process. So I think you bond really fast with the people you go through, whether it's, a boot camp or a plebe summer, because, you get through it as a group and you realize how important that is. And then your whole year, there's a bunch of stuff that you do to go through the motions, that you have extra rules and things that you have to do. You don't have almost very little freedom. I think we only got off the yard 1 day a week. So, wow. Yeah, so it changes a bit every year, but you spend a lot of time at just doing your work, doing your military obligations, and going to bed at night. And then you get a little bit more leeway and liberty when you get more senior. So a sophomore is called a youngster. We call second class, and second class are the juniors, and firsties are your seniors, which is, I guess, it sounds a little ironic, but saying firsties. When you said that, I was like, that's kind of seems a little backwards, but hey, sometimes, okay, look, it's tradition. Leave us alone, all right? Navy's we're very, very, very much into our tradition and the things that we call things, and we're going to keep doing it. So just leave us be, right? Yep. So yeah, it's a little backwards, and then by the time you graduate, you start in as an ensign and work your way through the officer ranks from there. Now, ensign, again, this is a name. This is a name that it confuses people when they see it when I'm teaching future sailors. That is what we call an O1 in the Navy. No other branch does that. Ensign, it's an older word. And we also call the flag is our national ensign. So O1, ensign, national ensign. Ma'am, this trivia question for you may or may not know, and if you don't, I'm sorry.
why is that? What is the ensign? Why is it significant to the national ensign?
Oh, I'm gonna plead ignorance early on this one.
Okay,
Not
it's
sure.
cool. Now whether this is, I'm gonna have to look it up again because this is what I was told a long time ago. So when you do colors on the ship, right? Anymore, it tends to be the younger sailors that are doing colors. Long time ago, no. Only the officers were allowed to do that. They were the only ones who could handle the national ensign. It was the ensign on the ship that handled the national ensign. Interesting,
Cool.
right? Yeah. So listen up, all you junior officers out there. Next time you're like, I'm not doing colors. All right, Mr. History Buff. Well, now you are. Anyway, no. So you did that. Okay. So you go to school, you right out of high school, you do your 4 years. And at the time, so you were still, at this time, you're thinking astronaut. So you're trying to go aviation anyway, right? You're trying to do that. You get picked up for that. I know that's not an easy process either. It's very, from people that I know, so many people want to be an aviator that it's pretty cutthroat. Like you kind of got to be the top ones, as far as medically and everything, right? So, there's a chance you can go to the Naval Academy for that and find out like, nope, you're not going to be an aviator, but you're already committed to be a naval officer. Is that correct? Would that be 100%?
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Everybody that we talk to when they're trying to decide, if they want to be in the military and how to, what kind of a college experience that they want. I think it's always important to realize that if you go to like an ROTC unit or you go to the Naval Academy, you say you have to be okay with being a naval officer at the end of the day, because that is going to be your job despite whatever platform or warfare specialty that you end up in. So a lot of it's done by grade point average. So you start at the number one person and they get to pick if they want to go surface warfare or if they want to go aviation or Marine Corps, and they just go down the line. So not everybody gets what they want, and as in, I guess, in life and definitely in the Navy, you do your best to put yourself in a position that allows you to have the opportunity to do what you want. And then needs of the Navy come into play as well. So it could be, hey, I think there's pretty consistency in the numbers of aviation billets that come out of the academy. I'm sure it changes a little every day, and I have not looked at them in a while. But the same for ROTC as well. So you just have to realize what those percentages look like. And most people, at the time I was going through that were like, hey, as long as you're in the first half of your class, there's usually enough billets for you, kind of a rule of thumb. So you have an idea of where you need to put yourself. We have, there's plenty of people, there was a joke at the academy, poli-sci and fly, because people would come in and, try to do an engineering major or just pick something that they weren't passionate enough and having trouble, getting good grades. And they would transfer out of that to be like, hey, I'm going to do something that I'm more naturally talented in to ensure that I have a better shot of getting the career path that I want. And I think that's the same with ROTC. I think it's unique and more than I do to you, for OCS. You can walk in with a contract, so you have a little bit more control, but at that point, the Navy hasn't paid for your college. So, ROTC or the academy, the government picked up the bill, and my service is something that I wanted to do, but it's what I owed the government after that for that education. So there's some payback there. So the government doesn't care that you're unhappy if you end up driving a ship instead of flying an airplane. But I will say that most people, cool. Exactly. I think most people, we see a lot out of flight school because it's the same thing in flight school. There's no guarantee that you're going to fly F-18s or be a helipilot or a P-3 pilot. Like it's, again, you put yourself in a position that you have the grades, and then it's very much needed the Navy. But I think to a T, most people, you get into that community or you get into that platform and they love what they do. So I think, once you meet the people that you're going to be work with and really get into it, there's very few people I've met that were upset about the life they ended up living, even if it wasn't exactly what they were looking to do at the start.
I think too, and it's so cool that you said that, man, because you kind of just paralleled some of the things that I say as a recruiter to people, and how you said that when you come into the academy and you're doing these things, you need to be, at the end of the day, you need to accept that you're being a naval officer, whatever type of naval officer, right? So what I tell people when they're going down to MEPS to look at jobs, you need to be open-minded and understand at the end of the day, the job's kind of arbitrary. You're going to get the same benefits, the same pay. What I want you to want to be is a sailor. you know, and for you guys like going through that, what they want you to want to be is an officer, not an aviator, not a this, but an officer, because of that. And it's the same thing GPA wise. I tell them when they go to their A schools and stuff like that, look, you will benefit to work hard. At the end of the day, if they come out, like I'm a display tech, and they say, hey, the Navy needs 10 display techs, and there's 10 of us, they're going to cut 10 orders. If you're at the top of the class, most, not all A schools, but a lot of them, you get to choose. Oh, okay, there's 10 orders. I'm picking which one I want. So even the 10th guy is still an Aegis display tech, but it's more of what people assume with the military, where they're like, hey, this is where you're going, you know? So you have opportunities, officer side, enlisted side, to kind of pave your own path for your future. And it takes hard work. And we recognize that, and you get more of a choice. Again, you're here on Behind the Helm, episode 84. We're with Commander Hansen, call sign Dragon, and we're finishing up talking about the Naval Academy as she got out of the Naval Academy, and I just want to talk about that just because, like, you just made some excellent points there, and it really does, it parallels a lot with how we kind of look at the enlisted side. And, you know, you had mentioned OCS and NROTC, and what I will tell you is if you go back, not you, man, but our viewers, if you go back, there was an episode where we had Ensign now, Mr. Dunnick, on with us, who was one of my future sailors who ended up going to OCS and went the officer route. And then the difference is, like you said, you're going to do all 4 years. You have to. The only other one thing we have is the NROTC scholarship, which is amazing, and you can go anywhere with that. In this state, a lot of people go to Purdue. If you get that scholarship, it is 1 year. This is mine. They told me this. I said, there's no way that's true, but it's on the website. It's on the literature. It is 1 year obligation free. You can literally get this scholarship, 100% scholarship, go to school in the ROTC program, do an entire year, and then say, it's not for me, and walk away debt free. What? But I was told, well, when people do a year, they're in. They're not going anywhere. So you get through the Naval Academy, right? You get picked up for flight school, because you don't learn that at school. You don't learn that at Naval Academy. You have to go to flight school, right? So that's your next stop. So kind of, you know, what happens there? What happens at flight school? They just throw you in a plane and say, go?
No, there's a lot of studying beforehand. I will say I am dated on my knowledge of exactly what programs we're running through Pensacola right now. They're constantly changing, and you know, the more learning technology that comes about, you know, we're obviously jumping on all of that to make things more efficient, more streamlined. So back in the day, and then even now, everybody goes down usually to Pensacola and does a program through academics, and you know, you're learning flight basics, instruments, you know, stuff that you need as a foundation of knowledge. What is cool and kind of started when I was at the academy, and the programs amplified and become much more robust over the years. You usually get some time in a small civil airplane.
Okay.
So you get to, and you know, a lot of it was like, a lot of you don't fly until you show up at flight school and you're like, wow, I hope this is what I thought it was. I'm about to spend my whole career, and I've spent my whole life trying to get here. So it helps some people that like realized, oh my goodness, if I'm in a small aircraft, I throw up all the time and I don't want to be sick every time I'm trying to fly. Or I had a great friend who I think threw up 7 times while she was flying and wanted to keep on going. And they were like, wow, we can't believe that you are still in it, but it's really hard to fight an aircraft if, you know, you're sick all the time. So that gave us the opportunity to, you know, talk on the radio a little bit, you know, learn what stick and rudder skills were at a basic level. So when you get to the military side of the house, they could train you on the military techniques that they wanted to. So, you know, you go through your academics for a while, then you go to ground school for the airplane that you're flying, and then you finally get to be on the airplane. And then at the time I did what's called primary. That was in Whiting Field in Florida, which is essentially Pensacola.
Right.
So that was a ton of fun. I was flying the T-34 at the time. And then from there, depending on what your grades were, they rack and stacked everybody. And that's where you picked your platform. So that was my first I got lucky and I got to go jets. I managed to at least get the grades above the jet cutoff. And my particular week, there were 4 jet slots. The weeks around me, there were 2, there were 1.
Ooh,
there was a P3 draft for a while that everybody in the class went P3s. We had guys that wanted to go P3s and didn't, or people that want helicopter helicopters and ended up in P3. So, you know, like I was saying before, you don't know, you just hope for the best and hope you make your own luck from that point on. So it worked out for me. And again, all my friends who went to different platforms love their platforms at the end of the day. Every aircraft kind of has its own culture around it, which is cool.
Right.
And then for me, for jets, and still to this day, you either go to Meridian, Mississippi or Kingsville, Texas, and we're still flying the T-45. And that was your first, there are some exchange programs that you can go fly with the Air Force and stuff, but that's your first time in a jet aircraft and getting used to a little more thrust than a prop.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. At that time, we were also still going, that was the first time you went to the aircraft carrier, where that program's kind of changing now based on some software in the F-18s that make landing a lot easier than it was back in the day. But it's the first time you start doing more fighter pilot stuff and a little bit more of an introduction to that. And then once that was done, you go to what we call a fleet readiness squadron. So there's two in the US. One's in VFA 106 in Oceana. The other one's VFA 122 in Lemoore, California. And they will teach you how to fly the Super Hornet. And then that's for the Hornet. If you're a Growler, which is the E-18G, right. That's up Whidbey Island, Washington. And then the people that select Hawkeyes or used to be CODs. Now we have the Osprey that they're flying for shuttling logistics.
I've heard horror stories of the Osprey.
Lots of huge rotors. They're kind of, they're kind of unnatural. And
they're cool when you see them fly. Don't get me wrong. They're awesome. But yeah, I've heard some horror stories, and you know, you're listing off all these aircraft, and hey, look, we don't have time to sit and talk about every aircraft. So if you hear something, you kind of got to look it up. But one that you said was the P3. It was a lot of them, and that's the Orion. It is a prop plane. It's a bigger plane, and it's mainly for anti-submarine, correct?
It is, and I actually dating myself on that. I don't know if the last P3 squadron's been transitioned over. We've moved to P8s. Which I think is just a 737. I might get in trouble for saying that one wrong as well.
That's
but it's, think commercial airliner that has a bunch of cool stuff on it.
Right, like a bunch of stuff in the back, like all this stuff. So So you went to your Ready Squadron, your first one, right? And where did you go for that?
I went to, at the time, also dating myself, VFA 125. So when I selected Hornets, we had both the Legacy Hornet, so the F-18C. And there was also the Super Hornet was in play then as well. So that we call her the Rhino as a nickname, and that is the F-18E single seat, Fox is 2-seat. So when I went to Lemoore, VFA 125 was the F-18C rag, and 122 was the Super Hornet rag. And then afterwards, we have slowly phased out all the F-18 Charlies from the Navy. The Marine Corps still flying them down at 101. They're in Miramar. They get San Diego, so they won when it came to base location. They decommissioned VFA 125, and then they brought it back as the Joint Strike Fighter rag. So 125 is back again, but they're flying the F-35 now. So if you're a Hornet person, you're going to go through 122 on the West Coast. If you're going through the Joint Strike Fighter for the Navy, you'll find yourself in Lemoore as well.
And we've had a guest who's been on a couple times, is a chief, real good friend of mine from Indiana, AOC, Jeremy Snyder. And, VFA, what does VFA stand for?
It is your fixed wing fighter attack.
So, and the number is just the squadron that you're in. And he was in a few, and he told me a story of one, and I can't remember which VFA it was. I feel so bad. And but the name, they all have names, right? So the one that always sticks out in mind for him, because he was a squadron guy, was the Pukin Dogs. And I don't remember where that was.
They are an Oceana squadron.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. So you start out VFA 125. What were they?
They are the Rough Raiders.
Raiders.
They still are. So they brought them back as the Rough Raiders.
And then you went to 122 because you're a Hornet, right?
So 120, I didn't. If I went years later, but since I was a Legacy Hornet, 125 was just like the initial training. And then I went to the fleet from there. So, see, I graduated in 2000 and 3 and I got to my first fleet squadron, like when you show up on day 1 and that you're deployable and you're going to go out and be a part of the squadron. I took the short bus. I had a trouble in a phase or two. They worked with me, got me where they needed to be. And then I got to my squadron in like spring of 2007. So it was, if I had been on timeline, it would have been about 3.5 years from graduation to finally getting to the fleet. And that timeline changes a little bit depending on, if you had trouble with performance, did you roll a class? Because it happens all the time. And the instructors are great with getting you back up to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the pipeline gets stuck. Right now, we have a bunch of people waiting to go through the program because we had some engine issues with T-45. So that slowed down some of the process. So it's constantly an ebb and flow. And we do our best to, try to keep the, production line of pilots and WISOs going so that we can get those people out to the fleet where we need them to be and go out on deployment. So my first squadron was VFA 151, the Vigilantes. And then my last squadron that I got to command was VFA 25, the Fist of the Fleet.
Fist of the Fleet. That's where you were before, because you're at a school right now.
I am. I'm doing what we call a joint professional military education, phase 2. So throughout your career, they send you to, schools constantly to
yes, they do.
learn different things about the military. So what I'm doing right now is what we call joint acculturation. So I'm in a classmate. My classmates are Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps. We've gone through this. It's a 10-week program, 1 week left of learning how to work together.
But before you got here, you said you were commanding, like, so you were the top dog. What do they call it? I mean, it's just a commander. Commander is your rank, right? But you were also the commander of that squadron. How does that? I'm not an aviation guy. I'm a surface guy. I wasn't on aircraft carrier, so I'm kind of asking too because I don't honestly know. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of the same word used in there. So commander by rank, you would say like, hey, who's the commander of that squadron? That also, I guess, works as well. Usually the squadron will call you skipper.
Yes, you're the CO of the squadron, like the CO of a boat. I was on a destroyer, right? And it's the captain. That's the captain. That's the commander, or the commanding officer. But we call it the captain. A captain on a destroyer a lot of times may be a lieutenant commander or a commander, not necessarily captain rank. Yeah, we kind of mix some words. It's what we do. We know what we're talking about, so it's fine. But so yeah, you were the skipper, or I think you might have probably punched somebody if they came up and called you the old man of the squadron, because we have a tendency to say, go see the old man. That's on a ship. We don't really try to say that anymore. But so wow, that's cool, right? So you went from high school to the Naval Academy to not just being a fighter pilot, which is already awesome. I mean, let's be honest, like, it's cool. Okay. And I don't know if you heard about it, saw it. I don't even know. You might have known them. I know, naval fighter pilot community is pretty, I don't want to say it's small, but like pretty tight. I made a comment the other day about the Super Bowl. I wish they would have said a little bit more about it, about the flyover, because it was the first all-female Navy flyover at a Super Bowl. And I thought that was awesome. And those were Hornets that they were flying. So it was really cool. Did you happen to know any of them? I don't know if you even really kind of noticed or saw who all it was.
Yep. So at least 2 of them came from the squadron that I'm about to go to. So those ladies did a great job with that. I didn't know the other ladies that they were involved, but we had one joint strike fighter that was flying. We had a growler that was flying as well. So, and they were backed by a great team of sailors and maintainers that keep the jets going, and all the squadron mates that help with all the planning, because it's obviously a big detailed process. So they did an awesome job, but they're definitely the tip of the iceberg of a huge team that makes something like that happen. So it was fun to watch.
So you got to be the commander but when you're the commander, you still get to fly?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of cool as part of that job. You're not tied behind a desk. like you can tend to be the more senior you get, you start doing a lot of staff work, and that makes pilots sad when you get stuck behind a desk. So I've been very, very fortunate that I've been able to stay in the cockpit and
well, I mean,
fly
talking about
as much as I have.
Top Gun and stuff, like that's why they say like Pete Mitchell, who's Maverick, by the way, Tom Cruise, why he was still a lieutenant, because he didn't want to have to be behind a desk, right? He wanted to keep flying. And, you know, it's really funny because you say Fist of the Fleet, and when I was looking up pictures to post for this, some stuff was coming up, and I'd see if you know, a little trivia question for you from the first movie, 1986, Top Gun. You fan of Top Gun? Okay, good.
Of course.
Which main character was from the Fist of the Fleet? His helmet had it on it. He wore the patch. Do you know? Huh? Iceman. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure like you guys know.
Iceman.
I didn't know that. Right. And I'm looking it up, and then I see this helmet. I'm like, oh, there's a helmet with the symbol on it. That'd be great. I was going to use it. And then it was like saying replica Iceman helmet. I'm like, wait a minute. And then like, so yeah, Iceman. So, you know, there's a lot, they try in a lot of those movies to put some truth to it, you know? So you were out there, you were the commander of that, you come to school, you're getting ready to go command another squadron. And, you know, how long have you been in service now? How long have you been commissioned?
I will hit 20 years this May.
Nice. Yeah, ma'am, it's an impressive resume that you have. How do you intend to go past 20? You trying to go like 30 or more? Or what are you trying to do?
We'll see what happens. It's weird when you get to this point of seniority that you kind of not really have a choice of, you know,
right.
whether you were staying in, staying out. You know, I think I was definitely in for 20 when I started out, or just hadn't found anything else I wanted to do. I think you hear a lot of us say that we'll keep at it if it's still fun.
Yeah.
And it tends to be fun a lot. So I owe at least one more tour.
There you go.
And then hopefully the Navy, hint, Navy, if, you know, if you get a job that's still fun afterwards, hope, you know, can stay in and keep on going. But as with everything, needs of the Navy, and there's, you know, fewer and fewer jobs as you get more senior, and there's a bunch of just fabulous people out there trying to do them as well. So, you know, no matter what, it's been a fabulous run. It's been an awesome journey. Wouldn't change a thing with it. So, you know, it'd be great if it keeps on going. And, you know, if it ends up that that's not the way things are going to work out, I have a great career to look back on and have met some phenomenal people. So either way, it's a win.
I mean, if it helps, you know, you just write on your resume, was a guest on the Midwest #1 military podcast. I know some people. I'll put in some calls for you. We'll see what we can do. But you know, it's just really cool. And like most of the time when people think about naval fighter pilots, and, you know, we've made the reference, we talk about Top Gun, and we talked about Top Gun with Chief Snyder too, because he actually, even though he's an AO, he actually worked out there. And, you know, he let us know, like, you know, in the movie, they say it's in Miramar. It's not. It's actually where?
Fallon, Nevada. It used to be in Miramar. It
used to
during
be.
its inception, it was in Miramar, and then we moved it out to Fallon.
Fallon, Nevada. So he you know, he could talk about that, and we talked about how realistic it is. Now we're talking from enlisted side to officer side. So he actually gave you guys some credit. He did. He goes, you know, the movie's great, and it, you know, there's a lot that's like that. He said, but, you know, they kind of showed the pilots, you know, for lack of a better term, and especially even in the new one, kind of like just like kind of college kind of, you know, douches, like, for, you know, and he's like, they're not really like that. You know, I mean, you always have some people like that, but they kind of made it seem like they're all like that. He's like, it wasn't like that at all. You know, that's definitely very Hollywood. And I had said, you know, and before I say this next part, I just want to say again, we're on episode 84, Behind the Helm. We're here with Commander Hansen, call sign Dragon, a fighter pilot, an FA-18 Super Hornet pilot, who is also a commander of a squadron, and is getting ready to go be another commander on Women's Appreciation Month in March. So, you know, ladies out there, like, she went right from high school and look where she's at. That could be you. Don't ever let anybody tell you can't. You know, some of the most amazing leaders I've worked for have been women. No offense to the guys. Some amazing leader guys out there too. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Anyway, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bells, do all those algorithmic things to help get this out there. This is some great information because the next part is what I think everybody wants to hear about. We've been talking about Top Gun, and you have a connection to the newer movie. I mean, we're all fans of the original, the 86 Top Gun. And I think it's just like a Navy thing. But when they came out with the new one, Top Gun Maverick, I've talked about it, I thought they did a good job. But you have even a little closer connection to it, right? You mind talking about that? What did you get the opportunity to do?
I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. And I was stationed in Fallon, Nevada, where our Top Gun Actual is up there. A bunch of different departments. I was in one of the sister departments as an instructor, and one day I got a call that was, hey, we're going to be doing some filming for the movie. Would you like to be one of Monica Barbero, who's Phoenix in the movie? Would you like to be one of her pilots? And I was like, well, that sounds like a great idea. I would love to do that. So I was very fortunate to spend about a week on the, I guess, set or getting to fly with the cast while they did some of their shooting in Fallon. So, and I think it's a real testament to the pilots we have in the Navy as a force, because they essentially were pulled a bunch of the Top Gun instructors to fly a lot of the staff that was up at NODIC, which is our Warfare Development Center that Top Gun is a part of. And then out of Lemoore, California, they did a ton of filming there and was able to just, based on who had some free space in their schedule, because obviously there's a lot of operational commitments going on. They were to go down the flight line and said, hey, we need some JOs to fly in this. Anybody interested? And they were able, it's not like you had to try out or be a screening process, because everybody who was qualified to fly an airplane could do what they needed us to do. So it was really neat to see everybody come together. And it's obviously a little different when the mission sets are all things that we do fairly often when it comes to, dive bombing. You don't normally pull 10 Gs coming off of the target. We'd break a bunch of jets. You would be very mad at us, but all of that is like parts of different mission sets that people train to in different scenarios all the time. So the story itself is, somewhat fictional. Some of the things that, people are doing in aircraft or, what they do every day. So it's kind of, as I said to my parents, it's the most realistic you could have somebody watching you, fly in an airplane, because the cameras that Paramount used and the film crew used were just so phenomenal. It was the best cruise video any of us had ever seen. So it was really nice. They did such a great job with it.
And I think it's really cool because, there's so much that's done with CGI and this and this and this. But to realize that there are, they're not putting Tom Cruise in a jet and he's actually flying it, but it is aviators flying it. So Phoenix, Monica, the actress, she's not a pilot. She plays a pilot. She does the acting part. And then they're like, all right, now we need somebody to really fly. Hey, Dragon, let's go. So you get to fly. And normally, like we showed in the pictures and stuff, you guys always have, and they show it in the movies too, your call sign is on your helmet and stuff like that. So, but you have the visor. So, I would assume you're in a flight suit that you're very used to. I would assume that you have a helmet, but instead of your helmet that we showed a picture of, it was probably like the Phoenix one, right? And so that way they could film you flying, and it is you. It's actually an aircraft flying. And I think that's just awesome. So you're almost like I don't want to say stunt double, because you're not, like, you're the actual expert, right? And I'm going to show something real quick just in case anybody's like, oh, I don't believe that. Well, no, I'm telling you, because I know, just because I know. But at the same time, I'm like, I wonder if you were on the credits. And so I found where it has a screenshot of the scrolling credits, and I was going down, trying to find it. And right here, Naval Aviation Warfare Development Center. So this is for Maverick. This is the credits for it. You see Top Gun, Tom Cruise, yada, 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 so forth, so on. Naval Aviation Warfare Development Center, Commander Brian Blair and Commander Kristen, they misspelled your name, Hansen. So it's right there in the credits. You're a movie star. You made it.
Thank God, thank God it was Monica's face on screen. They did such a good job. It was great. The cast put so much effort into asking questions and trying to depict things as realistically as possible. And they were just so much fun to work with. So it was very unique experience and definitely something I'm not going to forget. That was not the everyday go to work.
Right, and it says right here, Strike Fighter Squadron 122, and I made a joke with you when I was trying to find it because it's down here, and I said, you guys made it in, but under the catering. But you told me you weren't even mad about that because the catering was on point, right?
It was so good. They bring their whole unit in when they do their filming, and their trailer had probably some of the best food I had ever had out in Fallon. It's a small town in the desert, and don't get me wrong, they have some great restaurants out there.
Sure.
But I mean, they had steak and lobster and all kinds of crazy stuff, none of which I was willing to eat, and then getting in an aircraft.
Sure, yeah,
that
yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So
here, eat this, and then
incredible.
hey, go do these maneuvers, please. Thank you. Oh man, this is gonna end badly.
100%. Fish before a flight. That was
my goodness.
a story I didn't want to explain.
It's like half a dozen boiled eggs and a glass of milk. That's what I'm doing. Now, did you get the opportunity? I'm not. Did you actually get to fly with any of them? Did you get to take any of them up? Were they allowed to do that? Were you allowed to do that? I mean, I guess you were the skipper.
So I flew with Phoenix. What was neat about the process they went through, to be able to fly in the aircraft, you have to do all the survival training that goes along with it. So the cast that your main cast went through all of the survival training to be able to sit in the back safely and operate. So they did a whole workup process, threw them in the pool, threw them in the helo dunker. So they knew, enough about the aircraft to be safe.
Right.
So they were the ones that were allowed in there. So I flew with Monica a whole bunch, and she's a blast. She's super cool. And I had the opportunity to fly with Lewis Pullman, Bob. He was also great to fly with. So during the week, Bob, yeah, he's so good at it. And they were great people, great group of people. So it was really cool to get to go fly with them. And what was impressive is, I'm used to being in an aircraft, and the pilots are,
right.
They're not. We put them in these really uncomfortable flight gear, strap them into an ejection seat, and then go around in a circle and keep pulling up. Our goal was to, pull a lot of 7.5 Gs so you could get the facial distortion, because you can't fake that. But they still have to act through it as well. So we'd be out there doing a bunch of stuff and come back, and you'd see the video. I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. Like, you guys were pulling that off back there while we're just, ripping around the jet.
Yeah, because there are scenes where they're filming them in cockpit, right? And that they are actually in cockpit, like they're actually up there acting while they're doing something that they've never done, but it's somebody else flying. So that's
So we had about, I think it was, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, it was like 4 to 6 cameras looking back at the actors and actresses, and then there were 2 cameras looking over the shoulder of the pilot. So the goal was that, like, any of us who were flying, the back of us was supposed to look just like the actors, and their attention to detail is really commendable. Those guys are very, very particular on making sure that looks right, because they lose the scene if they don't.
Right.
So almost, there's probably, times that they had to splice things together, and they did have a mock-up on deck, but a lot of all those scenes, they're actually acting in the cockpit, and very minimum CGI, or anything that's either things that did get CGI'd is we would do the maneuver, but they would make the airplanes closer if it was something that was unsafe.
Right,
but the maneuvers all occurred. And then
you mean to tell me that when they're in school and they're flying those 2 planes and Maverick just like flies up in between 2 jets, they didn't actually do that?
I think they did it at a lot safer distances.
Yeah.
And put that together, so we didn't give anybody a heart attack. But I mean, there's some pretty aggressive flying. The guys that were doing it obviously knew what they were doing, and it was kind of a unique problem set, because the directors and everybody had an idea of what they wanted to film and what they wanted in the shot. And then the pilots would get with the aerial coordinator and be like, well, how do we do this with a camera, and what's going to show up, and what was going to be in frame? So that was neat too. Like things you have to care about that you don't normally care about. Where is the sun angle? You know, so if you're filming in the morning, the sun's in a different place when you go film in the afternoon, and you need to approach differently. So for somebody who doesn't ever work on a set, it was a really cool experience to figure out the things that they care about to make the movies that they do. And of course it's Paramount with the team that they had. So they're the best in the business. So it was really fun to sit back and just watch them do what they do.
Wow, how amazing. Like to not only to say like what you've achieved, and you know, something else too, like you're not even the only successful officer female in your family, right? I think you have is it your younger sister, older sister?
Yep, youngest. She is the commanding officer of NRD New England. So I told her she won. She managed to get back home to Boston somehow in the Navy. It's really hard to do. So
is that where their headquarters in? I don't know where their HQ is. Is it in Boston?
Yeah, it's on South Boston. So she started off as surface warfare.
Oh, Southie, huh?
Yep, and then she lat transferred to HR along the way, and then she worked down in Millington for a while at the Bureau, and she also did a year industry tour working for St. Jude. So she's done some pretty cool things.
And somebody had just shouted out, I think they're talking to me. I know they are because I don't think they'd call you homie. On Twitch, Ash and Dev said, yo, what's up? Good homie. And hey, I see you out there. Thank you for commenting. We're on episode 84. We're here with Commander Hansen. I'm telling you, I don't know why I want to say Hansen so bad because I know Hansen. Commander Hansen, call sign Dragon, and we just talked about Top Gun Maverick because she got the opportunity to fly. So your sister also went through college, not through the Naval Academy, Holy Cross, becomes an officer, is now recruiting command, right, out in New England, and she is the commanding officer out there. So two sisters from the same family. You know, wow, some successful ladies we got here. This is awesome. Like, it's amazing. And I think that your story is amazing. And the fact that you know, not only were just a pilot, but you became the commander, like the captain or the CO, it's commander of a squadron, and that you're going to command another squadron, and you got to fly in Top Gun Maverick. Like, who gets to say that? It's awesome. You know, I had asked you, you know, with the whole, you know, so your call sign is Dragon. I asked you, like, you big Game of Thrones fan. You said, well, I mean, I am now, which is cool because I got to see a bunch of how that was filmed when we were in Croatia. A bunch of it was filmed there on a deployment. You know, you get to see these things. And you were also kind of talking about, you know, when Paramount was filming, you said it was the best, what do you say, not deployment video, cruise video.
Cruise video. Yep.
Cruise video, right? So you were the commander and a pilot for Fist of the Fleet. And I know you weren't there for this, but I found a cruise video from them from the 2016 deployment. It's a little shorter, and I'm going to bring the volume down on it because there's not really anybody that's really talking. It's short. It's about 4 minutes. I want to know if you'd watch it with me. We kind of talk about it. So a cruise video is something like when you go out on a cruise or a deployment, they piece together things that happen during the cruise, right? Like kind of the highlights so that you can go back and remember it and watch it, right? And I think what people don't understand with those aircraft, when you look at an aircraft carrier and you see it out to sea with all these planes on it, those planes aren't on it all the time. Like you guys, when the aircraft carrier's in port, the pilots have to continue to train, continue to do maintenance, continue to do all these things. So really what happens is the ship goes out to sea and then you guys fly out to it and then do the deployment and then you fly off it before the ship pulls in. And you were saying like getting to learn all that and do those things with the landing. I will tell you, I do remember on regular NES, I'll date myself, that I had the Top Gun game, and that was one of the hardest things was to land on that aircraft carrier, even in 8-bit. So do you mind taking a look at this video with me, ma'am?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let me get this pulled up. First let me go to the screen where we can really see it here. See you, and then we'll pull it up. So this is VFA 25 deployment 2015-2016. And again, VFA 25 being the Fist of the Fleet, and you'll see their logo in here when it starts. Let me turn the volume just down a little bit. So Operation Inherent Resolve. So you have all these aircraft here you can see. So these are the Hornets here, yes?
Yep. So there's Hornets and Growlers back there. And then we do what we call cyclic operations. So we launch a bunch of people out in the morning or, throughout the day. They go do their mission. And then as they come back, they will orbit overhead the ship, at least during the daytime. Yeah. And they'll wait until the next go all launches off. And once that group's all off deck, they do what they call wrapping the waist. So they'll make the catapults, especially on the waist cats, ready to, or make it so you can roll over them essentially. Yeah. And they start landing aircraft right afterwards. So it is fast and furious.
And we've talked to a few different people before who are aviation, and you had mentioned with the ones who are flying over, having that team. So yeah, you're responsible for the aircraft. You're the pilot, and you have to know that aircraft inside out as well. But there's a whole team that goes into that, working on this aircraft, making sure it's safe. And you can see them all out here, different colored shirts, and they all have a meaning. We don't have to go into that, but that's I've been asked before, why do some people wear purple and green? Each one has a specific meaning. Everybody has a specific job. Although the Navy pilot does a lot, there's a huge team that goes behind this happening.
Oh, for sure. I mean, so my squadrons, I've been either F-18 Charlie or Echo, like I said, it's a single seat. We had about 17 pilots. And then on top of that, we have ground officers who are professionals in the maintenance department who really understand what it takes to keep these aircraft flying, because they're obviously very complicated warfare systems with a ton of avionics and just general airplane things that need to be taken care of. I always say that I'm really good at breaking them. I have no idea how to fix them. So they're job security for all my sailors. But the squadron itself is around 200 people. So, and we take everybody with us when we go on deployment, and they're the ones that really make it all happen. They make sure the aircraft is safe. Our ordnance teams load all the bombs and make sure that they're attached to the aircraft that we're supposed to be, that they're registering with the avionics correctly. You see the guys running around with chains. Those are the ones that, are going to do all your warm-up checks with you to make sure that when you turn the plane on, that all the components still want to work that day. Would be a challenge when you take an aircraft, put them in the middle of the ocean, and then throw it off an aircraft carrier and then slam it back on later when you land.
Right.
So they take quite a beating, and these guys are out, especially in the Middle East. You're looking at, over 100-degree weather. It's actually a little bit humid, and then you have all the exhaust from the flight deck. So it is long, hard days for these guys.
Oh, yeah, that jet wash is hot. I can only imagine. And then that non-skid that you're on, the flight deck itself, like it's holding and reflecting that heat pretty good. And there's no real cooling off. Like when we were in the Middle East, even on the destroyer, it gets hot out there. The ocean's reflecting the sun. I mean, it's hot.
Yeah, big time. And then, and those are just the guys up on deck too. An aircraft carrier has about 5,000 people that will deploy on it. That's ship's company plus the embarked air wing when you go out too. So you have everybody below the decks too, supports the whole ecosystem that you have, from the guys that are making sure everybody's getting fed. We have a post office. You have a dentist. You have a full medical staff. You have your whole admin departments to make sure that everybody is still getting paid.
You have a Starbucks.
We do. We have a Starbucks.
I made the joke with Petty Officer Levesque when he was still here, because I'm a small boy sailor, and he's an EM, and he was on an aircraft carrier, and we talked about the differences and how real different it is. And he is now out on a CG, and he called me after his first just little underway. He's like, wow. I'm like, I tried to tell you, man. And he told me, he's like, yeah, like, it is different. They're good and bad as far as enlisted sailors for that, because, my captain knew me by name. You know what I mean? Like, he could see me, knew my face, knew who I was. I asked him, because on aircraft carrier you have the admiral, but you also have the captain. I said, you ever meet the admiral? He goes, no. He's like, I never even saw him unless it was at like an all-hands call. It's just not what we do. A little different, So, yeah, I mean, it is a lot of people that goes into making that happen. Let me see. Oh, nope. That was it. I'm trying to get you pulled back up here, ma'am. I'm sorry. But yeah, so you get to see that, and that's showing a deployment, and they trim it up, and they're just showing like the different takeoffs and stuff like that. And there's other ones that you can go watch. That just happened to be the Fist of the Fleet, so I wanted to show that because that was you, and it's just really awesome to see that stuff. And I made the comment that when I was down in Pensacola for recruiter school, I'm a first class, I've been in a while, and sometimes you get a little jaded when it comes to the Navy. When you've been in for a while, you're like, the Blue Angels, I was explaining this to my son when I was telling him that you were going to be on, that you flew them, and he asked me the other day, he said, why is it when you see the Navy ships, it's always just the blue ones? I said, well, because I said, but those are still Hornets, and then the person I'm talking to tomorrow, that's what she flies, just not the blue ones. And he goes, oh, and I just remember being down there, and because they fly all the time, they have to practice. And I don't know how, it doesn't matter how jaded you get, like when they would fly over and you're seeing them do this stuff, like it's awesome. It's so cool to even get to watch it, so I can't imagine getting to do it. But just so you're aware, you did mute yourself. I would assume maybe your dog was barking or something. Okay.
We're good. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure he's getting antsy, but he's always a glass case show motion, so it's okay.
Okay, that's fine. So, I want to give you an opportunity. Again, we're episode 84. We're here with Commander Hansen, call sign Dragon, and we've just been talking about her career and her amazing story and how she got to fly for Top Gun Maverick, and we just kind of watched a deployment video to kind of show what that looks like and talk about that a little bit. You have 2 successful women. What rank is your sister? She a commander as well?
Yep, she's Commander 05.
So 05, like how cool is that? Talk about success and talk about getting to do some things that you never thought you would. If you had a message maybe for, any young woman out there, and like you said, doesn't have to be like directly out of high school, right? If you had to say something to women out there, on Women Appreciation Month, like what would it be?
Do what you want to do, take a chance at it. You'll, for me, I tend to just run straight into things and hope it works out. But, you're never going to have an opportunity that you don't take, I guess, for a lack of a better way of saying it. So, if you want to try something, go for it. Why wait? Obviously, there's a time and a place for everything, but you don't want to look back and be like, hey, I wonder, if I had given this a whirl, if it would have worked out. So I meet people all the time that are like, that joined later in life too. They went out, did a civilian job for a while, and you're like, hey, it's not really for me. I want to join the military. And we have those people in the squadrons too. So I think at the end of the day, surround yourself by people you enjoy being around that are going to be supportive and, do something that you're passionate about. And you can't go wrong if that's, things don't always work exactly the way you want them, but at least, you gave it a shot, and hopefully you have some fun along the way.
I always tell people, and you kind of hit on the head too, is the stupid light. One of these days, light.
Maybe saving money right there.
Yeah. What I tell people is, the answer to a question you don't ask is 100% going to be no. So don't let yourself tell yourself no. The Navy's very big on equal opportunity. We're anything that a man can do in the Navy, a woman can do as well. And you're standing proof of that, not just as a fighter pilot, but as a commander of a whole fighter pilot squadron. Like, that's so cool. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you so much for making the time to come on, and for everybody who's watching and those who are going to watch this later and listen to it later. Is episode 84 on Behind the Helm. And one last question for you. There's always a story behind call signs, but my question is, once you have a call sign, that's your call sign, right? So when do you get that? How long have you been, like, when do you get your call sign? Is that at that first kind of squadron you're talking about, that ready squadron?
It's actually when you're your first fleet squadron. So
Okay.
usually throughout, while you're learning, you'll probably go through a couple of different ones that won't stick really. They're kind of just temporary ones. So I was mumbles, with my Boston accent on a radio. It took me some time. So if anybody
we're
anything I
gonna
was
get the car out here so we can get on.
we want my Dunkin' with cream and sugar.
You guys want to go to Donkeys?
Yeah, I mean, I understood myself. Nobody else did.
Right.
And then when you get to your first fleet squadron, they will name you that. And that is usually the name that you keep. And that's at least how the fighter community does it.
Okay.
So your whole squadron gets together and names you from there. And if you don't show any weakness, if you have a call sign that they think that you don't like, you're 100% going to get it. So everything, you humble.
Right. We were talking, me and you were talking, because there was a different video I watched. There was a guy, his call sign was Trash Blaster. And like some people might think that was, I wouldn't be called. I don't know. That's pretty awesome. Like I don't know. Like,
I think Trash knocked over a couple of trash cans to get that call sign while everybody was on debt one night. But,
that's funny. That's great. So this is that point where we're going to end the video part or the audio part of it. But we still have bonus content coming up, and you don't know what it is. I have not told you. Now, for those who've been watching over the last probably month, they've got a pretty good idea probably about what we're getting ready to do. But again, it's Behind the Helm, episode 84. We're here with the one, the only Dragon. And, I made a joke for those who are Step Brother fans. I said, if I have to call you Dragon, you have to call me Nighthawk. Have you ever met somebody with a call sign Nighthawk?
Probably an Air Force guy at some point. They tend to have cool call signs because I don't know why. But the Navy
Dragon's
call sign,
pretty cool.
I got lucky with that one, but for the most part, the Navy ones are to try to keep you down to earth. The Air Force ones,
that's the big thing, right? It's to take the personal out of it. Is that like part of it? And like, it's more like, hey, it's to bring you down a little bit, level playing field, not bring you down, but instead of just like, okay, Commander, this, that, it's this, that, without going to the like first name basis of it.
Yeah, I think it helps. We say no rank in the cockpit because at the end of the day, you're flying your own aircraft. You have to work as a team, and you can't. If something's dangerous, it doesn't look right. Rank can't come into the cockpit. There's always that deference, and you're still going to be respectful. But there's plenty of times that my brand new lieutenant is going to pick up on something that I'm not picking up on, and I need them to speak up. I think there's historically some stuff that when you're on the radio, that's how they identified each other. But most people, if you said, hey, do you know Kristen, they probably would be like, Kristen.
Ooh, what?
Hugh?
Huh?
And if you said Dragon, they'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I try to say that there's no rank on the podcast, but I can't. Like it's ma'am. It just is. So here's what we're gonna do before I end the audio portion of it and I stop recording it. I'm going to kind of say what it is, so that way if they want to go back and watch the video, they can, because we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now, and it always plays afterwards. But if you're listening to this on the audio versions of it, you might want to go watch the video, because we're going to give Commander Hansen the opportunity to win a little money for charity from Behind the Helm. Okay, you're going to be playing a little trivia show. All right, and you get a chance to win a little money for charity. I picked the charity. There's no connection to you or anything. It's funny, actually. I didn't know that your sister had anything to do with St. Jude, because that's what I picked, because we've used it before. But, this is where we're going to end the audio. So bonus content is coming in 3, 2, 1. Bonus content. It's not, see, if you watch my old ones, Petty Officer Levesque used to do that. It was like both of us doing it. When you do it yourself, you sound stupid. But are you ready to see if you can win a little money for charity?
Oh, I'm going to try. I'm so bad at trivia, but here we go.
I don't know. I asked for some help to figure out what you were good at.
Nothing.
Just so you know. So again, you're going to be playing for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. They do a lot of great work. You can donate. Anybody can go and donate to them. I would encourage you to. $5, $10, $100, $1,000. It's down in Memphis, Tennessee. They do a ton, and that money goes to the families. It's free healthcare. It's families never receive a bill, and as long as people keep donating, it will be there. It's a great cause, an absolute great cause. And if anything, hey, get the shirt. This shirt saved lives because you can get the shirt and the money goes to the charity as well. So, ma'am, what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this up. And, first, I got to pull up a little music. You won't be able to hear the music, but everybody else will. And they know if they've watched my podcast what it is. And it's just for a little background. So let me get this playing in the background here. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're cooking with gas now. Okay, so let me get this pulled up. You can see my screen, right? You can see the St. Jude?
Yep, correct.
Okay. You're going to be playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Top Gun Edition. So I hope you're ready. All right, so you remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yep.
Okay, well, it's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's Who Wants to Be $100 heir, because I make okay money as a chief, but not enough to donate $1 million to charity. So you're going to be playing for up to $100. There's only about 10 questions. Just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you do have 3 lifelines. Do you remember what those lifelines were? You ever watch it?
Was it like, not really. Was it like phone a friend? Yep. Or I'm not after phone a friend. Somebody in the audience?
Yeah, you can ask the audience, you can phone a friend, and you have 50-50. And I will assume that you're probably on Zoom on your phone, right?
On my computer.
Oh, okay. So maybe you could phone a friend. Maybe, I don't know. We've had to do some things with it in the past. But yeah, you got those 3 lifelines. There are some stopping spots where if you get to that money amount, you're frozen there. Like, so if you miss the next one, your charity's instantly going to get that money. And there's a bonus question where you're going to get the opportunity to win $10 extra. So you can actually win up to $110 for your charity, or for the charity that you're playing for, not your charity, but the charity you're playing for. And even if you do miss one and you get stuck to a free spot, I will still let you do the bonus question to at least still get, hopefully, that extra $10, all right?
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Top Gun Edition. Here we go. Been talking about the movie a lot. I hope you like it. I hope you watched it. Here we go. Question 1, 1986. So there are a couple from the new movie. That's why a few of them say the year. 1986. What sport did they have a scene playing in the 1986 Top Gun? A, softball, B, basketball, C, volleyball, or D, football?
C, volleyball.
Final answer?
Final answer.
For $1, you are correct. It was volleyball. Absolutely. Everybody knows that scene. That's a perfect question for the first one. Let's move on to that $2 question.
Total false advertising. There's no volleyball at Top Gun Actual. So.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was like, man, you guys lied. I showed up here. There was no trophy, no real volleyball, but that's okay.
Were they? But I don't know. Were they? I don't think they were still at the school. They were they went down to the beach. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I'll watch it again.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody got to Top Gun. They're like, yeah, let's go play some volleyball. There is none here. What? Question 2 for $2. What does Mav say to Goose in the bar to let him know it is time to sing to someone? A, I feel the need. B, she's lost that love and feeling. C, she's on the edge. Or D, game time, Goose.
B, she's lost that love and feeling. Final answer.
Final answer, B, she's lost that love and feeling. You are absolutely right for $2 for your charity. Great scene in that movie. And definitely go back and watch it. So the next question, a $5 question, will be a stopping point, right? You get this, no matter what, your charity's going to get $5. So here we go. 1986 movie. What is the name of the aircraft that Mav flies in the movie? Is it an F-18, an F-4, an F-22, or an F-14?
D, F-14, big fighter. Final answer.
What is an F-14 called?
Tomcat.
Now, this is just me to you, and anybody who watched the episode with AOC would know this, and you might. Why is the F4 significant to this? This is not part of the question. I just want to see if you know. F4 significant to Top Gun, the 1986 version of Top Gun.
Was that what his dad died in?
Ooh, might have been, but what I was going at was the MiGs were actually, they were F4s and I think A4s because we didn't have MiGs, so they were actually flying F4s. But yeah, F-14 100% is the right answer for that. That's what they were flying in that movie, where the wings fold out. Those are F-14s. All right, you are safe at $5, ma'am. You ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Okay, $10 question. Here we go. What song does Goose and later Rooster play on the piano? So from both. A, Great Balls of Fire, B, Rich Girl, C, Danger Zone, or D, The Entertainer?
A, Great Balls of Fire, final answer.
You are absolutely right. Great Balls of Fire for $10. Great scene in the movie. And, of course, a little callback in the new movie when Rooster starts playing it in the bar. Mav looks at him, and it's, you know, for anybody who loved the movie was like, oh, man, he's playing Great Balls of Fire. Ghost. So we're going to move on to the $20 question. Here we go. Shortly after Goose's wife arrives in a bar, Carol, played by Meg Ryan, this is the line, finish the line. He told me all about the time you went ballistic with A, Charlotte Blackwood, B, Penny Benjamin, C, Charlie Benjamin, D, the Admiral's daughter.
B, Penny Benjamin, final answer.
Ooh, wow, you're real confident on that. All right, B. Penny Benjamin, you're absolutely right. And anybody who didn't catch it, who was his love interest in the new movie?
Penny.
Penny. It's Penny from the first movie. It's so awesome. Anyway, moving on to the $50 question, your next stopping point, ma'am. Are you ready?
Yes.
So you're halfway there if you get this one right. And no matter what, St. Jude's will get $50 from behind the helm. After the flyby reprimand, this is a hard one. After the flyby reprimand at Top Gun, what profession was Goose considering? Grocery clerk, cargo pilot for Hong Kong, truck driver, or cowboy?
Truck driver, final answer.
You confident on that? I didn't know if you'd know that one. You know that for sure?
Yep.
Ooh, okay. You don't think it's that cargo pilot out of Hong Kong shipping rubber? C, final answer. Truck driver is absolutely right. He asked Maverick shortly after that if he still has the number to that truck driving school. Man, I thought I got some tough ones. These better get harder. All right, here we go. For $60. Just taking my money, man. I appreciate it. Who was the first person to win the Top Gun trophy in the movie? Was it Jester, Slider, Viper, or Sundown?
I'm going to go with Jester. Final answer.
Now, don't forget, you only got a few more questions, and you do have those lifelines. We can talk about it.
I guess it's either, let's see what you do. Let's go 50-50. Let's see who you take down.
All right, I wrote, and it's not going to take down. I had to write it down because this is created on Google Slides. All right, so I didn't want to create more slides for every single one, so I wrote down every question for 50-50. And the 50-50 for this one is actually, it's either Viper or Sundown.
It's Viper then. C. Final answer.
Yeah, glad you used that lifeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Viper is absolutely right. The two main people, the instructors, are Viper, and then he has kind of the flat top and the mustache, and then Jester was the other one. But Viper was in the movie. He was the one who won the first trophy. And you said they don't have a trophy?
Nope, no trophy.
Jeez. All right, are you ready to move on to the next question?
Yes.
Here we go. $75 question. This is the next stopping point. In the Top Gun briefing room, ICE says the plaque for the alternates is down in the ladies' room, basement, janitor's closet, or entryway.
Ladies' room, final answer. And fun fact, one of the classes as a gift to Top Gun put an alternates plaque in the ladies' room.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people got in trouble because they were taking pictures in the ladies' room. Absolutely right. It's for $75 to St. Jude's. That is the stopping point. No matter what, at this point, St. Jude's is going to get $75 from behind the helm. In the Top Gun briefing room, Iceman said the plaque for the alternates is down in the ladies' room. So we're moving on to the $90 question. You're getting these way too easy for somebody's like, oh, I'm not good at trivia. So hoping I get you on one of these last two. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. $90 question. At the beginning of the movie, a pilot freezes up during an encounter with a MiG-28. What was his call sign? A, Merlin, B, Stinger, C, Cougar, or D, Wolfman? Now, the interesting thing with this, and we can talk about this for a minute, is you were talking about how Hornets now that there's single seat and double seat, and the F-14 it was always double. You had the pilot and you had the Rio. And the Rio, that's an acronym. We love acronyms in the Navy. So because of this scene, it's what got Maverick induced to Top Gun. Because that pilot froze up.
Yeah, I think it's Cougar. Cougar lost it and turned in his wings.
Are you going to go final answer?
Final answer.
He was number 1. You were number 2. Cougar, absolutely right. Come on, Cougar. Who was his Rio? It was Merlin.
Merlin. Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, Merlin, he's at the end. He flies with them at the end.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, you are right. Yeah, at the very end, he sure does. Now, $100 question. This is like, you have to think like you'd be going for $1 million right now, but it's 100. It's close enough. There's a 1 and some zeros, okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
The otherwise unnamed 5th Gen fighters are actually CGI in the movie Top Gun Maverick. But what aircraft is it actually portraying? The F-22, the J-20, the F-35, or the Su-57?
F-35. Final answer.
The one in the, you know the one I'm talking about, right? The end of the movie.
You're talking about like when they join up, like what they CGI'd, what aircraft they CGI'd around.
No. What the aircraft was that was depicted?
Ooh. It'd be a Su-57 then.
Su-57?
Yeah.
You going final answer?
Final answer.
So, just so you know, Su-57 is a Russian aircraft for anybody out there. There's only about 14 that are in use at all. Russians own them, so pretty sure they weren't going to let Paramount film it, so it was CGI'd in. F-35, F-22, those are American aircraft. And then the J-20, I believe, is that Chinese? I can't remember.
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at me go. S-57 for $100, ma'am. You made that look easy.
Well, I think they did it. It's actually, I think it's a Hornet, but it could have been a F-35 too. So they flew those scenes with Hornets or 35s, and then they did the cool CGI around it so that the flight profile was accurate. But like you said, Russia wasn't going to cop those up.
Yeah, ain't no way. They only have like 14. It's their top secret aircraft, or not like top. Well, it is. You know, they're not going to like just loan it to us for a movie. But yeah, that's what was being depicted is an Su-57, 5th gen aircraft. We were talking about it earlier. That is a real phrase. Those are real things. They're only the 4 that were listed there are the only 4 5th gen aircraft. Those 4, bam, that's it. So you just won $100 for St. Jude's. How do you feel about that?
Good. I appreciate the little encouragement in there to right the ship. So that's good.
Yeah, and. No, I don't know what you're talking about. They're your lifelines. You finished with 2 lifelines left even, but you have a chance to win another $10 for your charity with a bonus question. Are you ready for your bonus question? It's a toughie.
You bet. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. What is the #1 military podcast in the Midwest? Is it A, E-Talent, B, Behind the Helm, C, In the Box, or D, E-14, A Sailor's Voice?
Absolutely B, Behind the Helm. Final answer.
You're absolutely right. And look, this is you. $110. Congratulations. You win. That's so awesome. Let me, I'm going to pull you back in, ma'ams, just so we can say our goodbyes and tell you again. Oh, let me get the screen back up here.
We'll get fined. You actually get fined if you're on staff and quote Top Gun. So they,
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, I was on the ship and we had a captain that every Wednesday was Burger Day, and he'd like get on Burger Day. This is Burger Day, and he used to play Jimmy Buffett's Cheeseburger in Paradise, and the entire crew voted and banned the song from ever being played on the ship again.
Aw, it's a good song.
I'm sorry. I just noticed my wife said, "Wow, nice job," and she said, "I'm glad you didn't use the lifeline. Ask the audience," because she had no idea, and I'm not sure which question she thought about. But, ma'am, I really do appreciate you coming on. Such a great success story. I hope you think that you're a great success, and even if not, I'm sure there's somebody out there that you've probably inspired along the way, and it's because of people inspiring you. And I'm just glad you were able to take the time, and I wish you the best of luck as you move on. You said you got about a week left, right?
Week left of school, and then a couple of weeks of turnover, and then I'll be off and running at 122.
Which is which we talked about.
So
it's out there.
Yep, VFA 122. So the anybody leaving Pensacola and heading in Meridian, Kingsville, and heading out to the West Coast to learn how to fly Super Hornets, I will see you there. Yeah,
you're the one they're going to be reporting to, huh?
Oh, I hope not. I just wave down the hallway, hopefully.
Oh, really? Like you're the commander though, right? Or it's not? It's different. It's different.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get to fly together, and then we call it a patching when they figure out what squadron they go to, and get to take off the FRS patch and give them their first fleet squadron. So it will be
so cool.
Pretty excited for those guys.
Well, ma'am, hey, if there's ever anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out. You're so kind to come on here and do this, and hopefully it helps somebody. Somebody gets some good info out of it. I know I enjoyed it. If nobody else does, I got to do this and talk to you. So I think it's awesome. Thank you so very much for your time. I'll let you get to your dog. What type of dog is it? German short-haired pointer?
Pointer. Yep. So it's his dinner time. So he's upset.
He's ready. He's like, Mom, hello. Hi, you see me? I'm here. I got it. If it was me, my dogs, my wife will attest to it. Anytime we're on a Zoom call or a speakerphone, they hear another voice, they just lose their minds. We have to put them outside. They start barking because they can't find the person that's talking, especially if I'm on the phone with her, because then they think I'm in the house. So I'm going to let you go, ma'am.
We're having fun and we're not. So
yeah,
thank you.
It's that FOMO. Fear of missing out. Our dogs have it bad. But it's because I baby them. I can't help it. It's family. So, ma'am, thank you so very much. Good luck in all your future endeavors. And again, thank you so much for taking the time. And everybody
Thanks
else,
for everything.
You've been here on Behind the Helm with episode 84 with Commander Hansen, call sign Dragon. So how do you guys say? You guys say Dragon out? Is that I don't know. How do you guys call out?
I'm just like, see ya.
No, we don't do anything fancy. We literally just say bye. All right, man. Thank you very much. You have a great day. I'm going to go ahead and end this call and then end the show. And again, thank you so much. And good luck at school. Make sure you pass now. Okay.
Thank you. I'll go do my homework now.
All right. Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Well, that was fun. Good one. All right, well, I actually have an interview getting ready to come in. Hopefully somebody who wants to join the Navy, so I'm going to go ahead and let everybody go. Till next week. Hey, just so you know, I was going to say it earlier, I forgot, but the next 2 weeks, I already have guests who are going to be on the show. If you want to be on Behind the Helm, if you think that you have some good information that might help somebody, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll get you on the show. We're always looking for people who have some good knowledge that might help somebody. So next week, we have an officer that I served on a ship with. He reached out to me, talk about some officer programs. The week after that, we have a really amazing female chief that works for recruiting and in diversity and gives out scholarships and has written a book and, just amazing stories. So make sure that if you think you have a good story or some great information about maybe some type of benefit that you think gets overlooked, we would love to talk about it. But until next week, and next week we'll be at 4 p.m. Catch you next time. Thanks for being here. And if you're watching this later, hey, I'm glad that you watched it at all. Thanks a lot. Have a good one, guys.